Imagine standing on a grass block at dusk. The pixelated sun dips below an endless horizon as shadows stretch long across rolling hills, and then it begins. A single piano note hangs in the twilight air like a question left unanswered. Another follows. Tentative, searching. You suddenly recognize this feeling, the way your chest tightens, when those familiar opening notes of C418 Sweden materialize from the silence. This isn't just background music. It's an emotional landscape as vast as Minecraft's procedurally generated worlds, crafted from sparse piano melodies that somehow echo the deepest chambers of the human heart. Tonight, we explore how these seemingly simple compositions became generational touchstones of digital melon. Choli, breaking apart the musical DNA that transforms bits and bytes into pure emotional resonance. Follow me through this labyrinth of minimalist chords and nostalgic field recordings as we dissect Minecraft. As heartbreaking alchemy, how loneliness becomes beauty, how simplicity becomes profound, and how a game about building dirt houses gave millions their first existential crisis scored by a lo-fi piano. Every masterpiece begins with bold restraint. C418's genius blooms not through complex arrangements, but through pregnant silence. The sacred space between notes where the listener's own memories rush in to fill the void. Listen closely to Subwoofer Lullaby. A 5-note motif repeats like gentle waves, lapping at a digital shore. Each repetition accumulating emotional weight like snowflakes becoming an avalanche. The left hand plays minimal bass tones so deep you feel them in your bones, while ambient crackles mimic distant thunderstorms or perhaps the quiet static of old VHS tapes in grandma's attic. This is musical pointillism, individual sonic dots forming devastating emotional constellations when viewed from just the right distance. The magic lies in what's missing. No dramatic crescendos, no cathartic releases. Just the haunting beauty of infinite patience. These compositions mirror Minecraft's vast empty spaces that beg to be filled with constructions, yes, but more importantly, with our own nostalgia. The tracks breathe with environmental sounds too, clinking underground mineshafts in Clark. Phantom footsteps in Mice on Venus. Wind whistling through unexplored biomes in dry hands. Each whisper binds us tighter to the game's world until the line between soundtrack and personal memory blurs into pure ache. Certain melodies transcend their origins to become cultural DNA. When those first notes of Sweden tremble into existence, entire generations collectively catch their breath. It's the sound of adolescence crystallized, of rainy Sunday afternoons spent tunneling into diamond depths, while puberty's confusion simmered in suburban bedrooms. C418's magnum opus floats on deceptive simplicity, a 4-note ascent followed by hesitation. The musical equivalent of hopefulness tempered by real-world disappointments. The genius twist. That wobbling detuned synth hum lurking beneath the piano like repressed anxiety. This track scored millions of first heartbreaks, homework avoidance sessions, and pre-dawn existential epiphanies. Yet Minecraft's musical sorrows extend far beyond this anthem. Consider Aria Math, the redstone labyrinth of C418's catalog, with its pulsing arpeggios building intricate patterns like slowly revealing cave systems, or devastating deep cuts like Moog City 2, where melancholic chords descend like ash after a forest fire. Then arrives Lena Raine's seismic contribution with Other Side in the Nether update. Same emotional resonance, new musical vocabulary. Her crystalline synth pads shimmer like crying diamonds over distorted bass groans, proving the emotional palette could expand without losing its soul. The truest magic occurs when these ineffable compositions collide with our lived experiences. Remember discovering your first abandoned mineshaft. How the mournful chords of Minecraft, the track formerly known as Living Mice, made ancient. Minecart tracks feel like excavated childhood trauma. This is music as ghost story, haunting players with emotional beats corresponding to gameplay milestones. Joyful tracks like Cat and Dog do the musical heavy lifting of concealed melancholy for maximum emotional whiplash. Picture this. You're laughing as blocky kittens chase toy mice to bouncy marimba rhythms when suddenly, over the next hill, you stumble upon a weathered village house with broken lanterns as Wet Hands begins its tragic drizzle of notes over lonely pedal tones. The innocent melody turns profound when juxtaposed with what could have been a family home abandoned, crops withered, villagers long departed. These tracks transform random gameplay into emotional archaeology, where every unearthed desert temple entrance becomes an opportunity for musical reckoning. But the deepest impact resonates not through technical achievement, but communal healing. Consider Sarah from Ohio, who built her father's hospice room block 4 block accompanied by Sweden, the song he hummed before slipping away forever, or Jacob in Australia, who credits Subwoofer Lullaby with helping him process survivors' guilt after bushfires claimed his school. The comment sections under these tracks form digital graveyards, thousands etching prayers into songs that become modern books of ours, on Reddit threads glowing into the night. Users dissect slight audio variations between editions, as religious scholars once debated scripture, each glitch-held note revealing new emotional chambers. YouTube creators remix these tracks into symphonic monuments, transforming bedroom compositions into orchestral requiems, performed in historic concert halls where tears stain velvet seats. TikTok edits mask trauma with nostalgic gameplay montages set to distorted piano snippets. The music persists across platforms like persistent chunks loading in our collective consciousness. As daylight bleeds across our opening scene's blocky terrain, we witness the final revelation. This music endures not despite its sadness, but because of it. Digital campfire songs for a fragmented gen. Eration. Those gently echoing piano notes offer permission to feel profoundly lonely while paradoxically connecting millions. When Sweden's melody resurfaces years later in a grocery store playlist, listeners freeze amid frozen food aisles, souls momentarily transported back to simpler times when monsters disappeared at dawn and all life's problems could be solved with enough mind obsidian. This is Minecraft's ultimate sorcery. Its music teaches us emotional resilience through repetition. That leitmotif cycling again, persist. The melancholy chord progression looping, build anyway. Place blocks through the ache until beauty emerges. So as our landscape fades to Mojang's splash screen, let the final notes linger. Not just as nostalgic artifacts, but as proof that the most profound human connections sometimes emerge from the barest musical fragments, ghostly piano melodies floating through digital eternity. waiting to score your next moment of unexpected humanity. Imagine a world where silence is punctuated only by the crunch of gravel underfoot, where the groan of a distant zombie hangs in the air like mist, and then it happens. A single piano note hangs suspended in the digital twilight, clear as a raindrop falling into an infinite void. And suddenly you're not just playing a game, you're feeling it in your bones. This is the alchemy of Minecraft's soundtrack, the invisible hand that reaches through pixels to squeeze your heart. Crafted by artists who turn simplicity into sublime emotional language. Our journey begins not in a grand studio, but in a modest German bedroom, where a young Daniel Rosenfeld, known to the world as C418, wrestled beauty from technological limitations, shaping melodies on free software with all the delicate precision of a sculptor carving smoke. Here in this unassuming digital workshop, the first notes of what would become Minecraft Volume Alpha were born not as sweeping orchestral statements, but as intimate whispers recorded through a $3 me microphone, every accidental hiss and imperfection preserved like fingerprints in clay. Those flaws became the soundtrack's secret language, the slight wobble in Sweden's piano line that makes it feel like a half-remembered dream, the distant echo in Moog City that conjures towering skyscrapers made of loneliness. Rosenfeld wasn't just composing music, he was capturing the sound of isolation itself, translating the quiet melancholy of infinite blocky horizons into harmonies that felt excavated from the player's when memories. Yet as Minecraft expanded beyond survival mode into vibrant biomes alive with parrots and pandas, the music needed to evolve beyond Alpha's minimalist poetry. Enter Lena Rain, carrying her own emotional lexicon forged in the dim glow of CRT monitors, her fingertips dancing between the joy of discovery and the weight of existential wonder. Listen closely as Pickstep erupts a joyous blast of synth-funk celebrating the nether's hellish absurdity. All disco beats and squealing Hogland samples, but then let rubato wash over you 3 minutes later. Its mournful cellos tracing the contours of ancient lava lakes where players bury forgotten worlds. Rain's genius lies in this duality. This ability to make beats pulse like a carnival one moment and dissolve into cello-driven requiems the next. Proving emotional authenticity doesn't require abandoning retro signatures, but deepening them layer by layer, like snowfall on a cobblestone path. But beyond these titans stand unsung sound weavers whose contributions thread through Minecraft's expanded universe. Picture Kumi Tanioka bending over sheet music for Minecraft dungeons, her delicate harp phrases in soggy swamp conjuring both threat and fragile hope as players wade through glowing mushrooms, or anonymous community composers whose fan-made mods introduce sorrowful accordion dirges to mountain villages, each one stitching new emotional textures into the game's ever-growing tapestry. And who could forget the seismic collision when Undertale's Toby Fox slipped his own brand of playful melancholy into the Minecraft universe with Other Side, a track that feels simultaneously like a gleeful carnival ride and the wistful memory of one. The true magic, though, lies in how these composers weaponize nostalgia like master alchemists. They know precisely how to trigger that sweet ache in your chest by blending the crunchy authenticity of Game Boy era chiptunes with orchestral swells worthy of a Hollywood sunset. Listen carefully to the music box tinkling beneath the end S strings. that fragile mechanical heartbeat evoking childhood toys long abandoned in dusty attics. It's no accident that certain tracks lean into harmonic minor scales, those Eastern European inflected melodies that feel like wandering through an abandoned castle where every cobweb tells a story. Or that composers drench piano keys in cavernous reverb, making solitary notes hang like ghosts between torchlit tunnel walls. Even tempo becomes an emotional tool. Notice how Dryden speeds imperceptibly like a heartbeat quickening at the sight of a Sunri. Say, while Aries slows to the drowsy sway of a boat drifting through lily pads. What emerges is nothing less than a collective memory palace built in MIDI and WAV files. An ever-growing constellation of feelings that transcends code and pixels. Every composer who touches Minecraft understands the sacred contract, that their music must speak the silent language of the player's inner world, the loneliness of those first nights huddled in dirt huts. The triumphant rush of finding diamonds glinting in obsidian depths. The bittersweet farewell whispered to a world you've shaped for 100 hours before closing the laptop lid one final time. So next time you hear those opening notes of subwoofer lullaby while mining deep beneath bedrock, remember you're not just hearing a soundtrack, you're eavesdropping on a conversation between artists across years and continents, all laboring to answer one impossible question. What does a universe feel like? And through their humble electronic instruments, through glitches turned gifts and loneliness spun into gold, they've given us something extraordinary, proof that even in a world of blocks, music remains hauntingly, beautifully human. Close your eyes and picture this. You crest a snowy hill in Minecraft, powder crunching under pixelated boots as the first haunting notes of subwoofer lullaby seep through your headphones. That slow pulse of bass isn't just background noise, it's the frozen air turning crystalline in your lungs, the way your breath catches when solitude becomes sacred. This is C418's genius at work, transforming a simple, overworld biome into a cathedral of quiet reflection, where every shimmering synth note hangs like breath in sub-zero air. Now shift to your mental screen. Cherry blossoms fall in pink drifts around you, as wet hands plings its fragile melody across a palette of white and coral. Those stuttering piano keys aren't just pretty sounds, they ache in your throat when you realize spring blooms won't last. The game brilliantly weaponizing impermanence through music that flutters like petals, dissolving on a breeze. But wander deeper into the jungle's emerald twilight, and the soundtrack twists, overlapping chimes swarm like fireflies trapped in your ribcage, buzzing with war paint energy, fighting against curtains of vines. This is musical witchcraft, transforming environmental storytelling into primal emotion. You feel the magic before understanding it. A cocktail of wonder and unease simmering as you wipe sweat from your neck despite the coolness of your real-world room. But descend deeper past bedrock fractures, where lava glows through cracks and the nethers. Soundtrack pulls an extraordinary trick, revealing vulnerability beneath hellish facades. Chrysopia swells as you traverse soul sand valleys, its glassy harmonies rising like sacred smoke through crimson fog. This shouldn't exist here, this ethereal beauty under bleeding skies full of gas screams. Yet Lena Raine's composition dares you to find dignity amidst disaster. Soundtracking survival poetry while your trembling fingers grip a warped fungus stake. Contrast becomes king in these fire-riddled caverns, standing at a basalt delta's edge, listening to rubedo-esque ghostly piano as lava pops like blistering skin. The music refusing to mirror hellish visuals, but instead carving emotional tunnels through devastation. Then you stumble upon bastion remnants, those gilded crypts, where Pickstep coughs its brooding sins through halls of broken treasure. This isn't triumph music, it's melancholic dubstep mourning whatever Piglin's lost. Golden record players, spinning anthems for fallen empires, while Blackstone bricks whisper stories of greed's hollow victory. Now imagine stepping beyond, floating through obsidian portals into the end's infinite void, where the soundtrack weaponizes negative space to devastating effect. Alpha scrapes minimalist strings across infinity, while chorus plants hum their alien hymn, a sonic landscape where emptiness becomes symphonic. You're not hearing cosmic horrors roar, but it's pregnant silence. Those hollow notes between piano keys screaming louder than ender shrieks. Then 8 ominous crystals ignite, and the end swells titanic orchestral swarms that should signal heroic bombast, but instead slip existential dread beneath your skin like subcutaneous shulkers. C418's genius twist convention again here. Battle music shouldn't feel this lonely. Shouldn't echo inside chest cavities like cosmic radiation peeling away mortality layers. And when the Ender Dragon collapses into starry fireworks, the shed piano lullaby that follows lands like an emotional sucker punch. Victory shouldn't weep childhood nostalgia while drifting through dimensional voids. But Minecraft knows we're always children wrestling god-sized foes in basement imaginations. But while older biomes sing elegies, the cave updates underground anthems perform emotional CPR on subterranean darkness. Stand Tall thumps its heartbeat bass as you spelunk deeper, musical chiaroscuro painting wonder onto claustrophobia. Aye, those echoing handpan tones aren't just notes, they're pickaxes sparking against deep slate as bioluminescent vines pulse reassurance through pitch-black tunnels. This is Lena Rain revolutionizing cave psychology, giving Left to Bloom its tender guitar whispers to convert geological pressure into womb-like comfort. Dripping lava pools now hum, with warm crackles harmonizing with your cautious breath. Diamond veins shimmering in sync with crystalline synths that turn mineralogical silence into sacred resonance. And therein lies Minecraft's masterstroke, those pregnant silences between musical cues where cave groans echo, letting geological acoustics complete the soundtrack's work like partners in immersive crime. Suddenly, it's not game versus player, it's dripstone caves chanting basso profundo lullabies while glow bare. Why vines? Translate ancient stone memories into ambient techno. This seismic shift in environmental scoring crystallizes Minecraft's grand thesis. Biomes aren't just visual skins, but emotional ecosystems scored. With shamanic precision, those netherrack badlands blushing under chromatic aberration skies. They weep violins mourning unnameable losses, whether you're ready for catharsis or not. That lone swamp biome where dragonfish gurgles its detuned piano through diseased water. It crawls inside your collar like humid regret clinging long after logout. Even aquatic biomes where oxalate bubbles its naive chiptunes, they hypnotize with rhythms tapped by spectral currents. Proving sorrow and joy aren't binary, but harmonic overtones vibrating through procedural landscapes. Consider the crushing moment when magma bubbles start harmonizing with your nether fortress run, how synchronized lava pops become percussion backing your panicked sprint through blaze rods and heartbeats. Or that transcendent mining session where cave ambient syncs with real world thunder outside your window, collapsing reality layers until copper veins feel like neurological pathways electrified by musical synapses. Minecraft's environmental scores work subliminally molding player psychology through geological acoustics to perfect, to be procedural yet too fluid to feel scripted. Those nights spent sheltering in desert temples while dry hands whistles through sandstone cracks it reshapes loneliness into chosen solitude, where you bond with emptiness like an estranged sibling. The Westeros. Scale blizzards scoring your tundra expeditions with Clark's whining since they bludgeon you into vulnerability until surviving minus 50 degrees feels like spiritual pilgrimage. And when portal frames flicker outposts beacon beams across mushroom-shrouded islands, there's always some track, maybe the Nether's embrace, that strangles nostalgia until your ancient dirt hut's memory becomes Proust, Madeline dunked in condensed melancholy. This emotional alchemy explains why biome soundtracks haunt players like Phantom Limb sensations, why a simple bamboo forest twinkling can punch breath from adult lungs. With buried memories of treehouse hideouts where imaginary dragons were real enough to quicken. Minus 1 year-old pulses. So next time Hagstrom's melancholic arpeggios drift across sunflower plains at sunset, pause. Listen deeper than algorithmic beauty. Feel how melody mirrors poison dart frog skins, warning of ecosystems where danger and majesty share DNA. Those shifting chords aren't just background filler, but Nietzschean philosophies rendered in meaty eternal recurrence set to acoustic guitar while Steve watches 20 identical sunsets bleed into blocky horizon, because that's Minecraft's transcendent accomplishment. Turning procedural generation into musical storytelling where end poem whispers through underground crossroads between shale symphonies and limestone requiems. Players don't just visit biomes, they baptize themselves in resonant frequencies sculpted by terrain torn between orchestral grandeur and solitary whispers. When overworld caves start harmonizing dripstone notes with warden growls synchronized like some geological Gregorian chant trembling through your gaming chair, it ignites revelation. Minecraft isn't scored. It is the score, a symphony sprawling across infinite dimensions, where every footstep plucks reality's strings, and every creeper hiss ruptures the fourth wall between player and played. Imagine the soft twinkle of piano notes floating through a dimly room. A child's eyes widen as blocky sunlight spills over a pixelated horizon. C418's Moog City breathing life into their first digital sunrise. This isn't just a game starting. It's an anthem of discovery echoing in millions of memories. The soundtrack to scraped knees bandaged by imagination. 2 afternoons where entire worlds could be molded between cereal bowls and bedtime. For a generation, these melodies became the invisible strings tying together bravery and insecurity, wonder and fear. The trembling first night spent burrowing underground as Hagstrom's distant chimes mirrored pound ing hearts. Its gentle crescendo, a lullaby of relief when dawn's light finally crept through the dirt walls. Decades later, that same track will make a 30-year-old pause over their spreadsheet, their breath catching at a scent of virtual damp earth and wood smoke. Because Minecraft's music never truly leaves us, it lodges itself in the marrow of our growing years. a time capsule of courage measured in cobblestone towers and creepers face down with nothing but a stone sword. Journeys unfold between those notes, chaotic dorm rooms transformed by the melancholic hum of mice on Venus, students building not dirt huts but futures. One exam page turned with every looping chord progression. There's physics equations scribbled alongside farm blueprints. The music a lifeline against deadlines, its predictability a shield against spiraling anxieties. And sometimes the weight isn't textbooks, but loss. A teenager mute with grief discovers dry hands. Its solitary piano refrain reflecting their hollow silence until, block by block, melody by melody, they reconstruct themselves alongside a sprawling memorial garden glowing with sea lanterns in sterile hospital corridors. For drips keep rhythm with subwoofer lullaby played through cracked phone speakers, parents humming along to a tune their child first heard while building tree houses. Now a fragile bridge between hope and fear, between bleached linoleum and sun-dappled oak forests, half a world away. Minecraft's music doesn't just score these moments. It becomes the emotional scaffolding, holding us upright when life trembles. Creativity thrives within these soundscapes, ambitious dreamers sketching castles to the cosmic size of Dryden, fingers twitching as orchestral swells match their soaring vaulted ceilings. Every block placed is a brushstroke, every melody a color chosen from an infinite palette. Speedrunners know this intimacy deeper still, their pulse sensing to Clark's urgent strings during another sprint. Every second shaved off a personal best echoing in the frantic plucking of cellos, the music threading their nerves into the game's code itself. And then there are those who didn't just listen, but reached out, kids printing pixelated sheet music for Sweden, pressing hesitant fingers to dusty piano keys until dissonance blossomed into harmony, discovering Beethoven through Bodum district covers, Chopin through harebrained memes, entire musical passions born from a game's humble MIDI files. Healing resonates through these chords, unexpected and profound, spoken softly through microphones layered over rain sounds. Warmth becomes ASMR therapy for frayed minds seeking refuge in familiar biomes. Therapists nod as autistic teens articulate emotions through Minecraft's predictable patterns. The end isn't anxiety-inducing chaos, but structured intensity they can navigate, measure, control. During lockdown's suffocating silence, millions logged onto servers where floating notes from alpha curled around communal bonfires, strangers harmonizing via chat, their avatars swaying under blocky stars as music sutured the isolation. Grief shared became grief. Panic attacks quieted by the glacial beauty of Taswell, loneliness drowned out by Discord choirs singing cut off key at 3 a.m. Every note weaves into an eternal symphony. The shivering joy of your first diamond find paired with Minecraft. The bittersweet farewell to childhood worlds echoed in Ballad of the Cats. The trembling pride of showing your builds to a friend as chirp as playful optimism dances through your headphones. These aren't just songs locked inside a game, they're the shared heartbeat of a generation, remixing grief and joy into something indestructible. Close your eyes now, and let the music pull you back to candlelit mineshafts, to vast redstone cities humming with possibility, to fireflies blinking in sync with distant piano keys. This is ours, this symphony of dirt and dreams. And long after the computer's power down, these melodies will remain playing softly in the background of our lives, fragile as a jukebox's chime, enduring as bedrock. Imagine standing at the edge of a pixelated world you know by heart, the soft dusk light bleeding purple over rolling hills, your diamond pickaxe resting against a familiar oak tree. You've heard the symphony of this place 1,000 times. The cheerful chirp of Sweden while herding sheep. The quirky comfort of cat as a furry companion purrs at your feet. But what if I told you there's a secret concert hall hidden beneath these grassy blocks? A labyrinth of half-heard melodies and tucked-away tracks that don't just tug at your heartstrings, they unravel them stitch by stitch, leaving you breathless in the glow of your monitor, wondering how such simple arrangements could excavate such profound loneliness, such unexpected sorrow. This journey isn't about the greatest hits. This is about the songs that slip through the cracks of your inventory, those quiet observers of your most vulnerable Minecraft moments, ambient pieces that transform from background noise into soul-crushing elegies when you're not looking. When the moon hangs too low over the taiga and the wind sounds a little too much like whispering, let's begin in the realm of deep-cut classics, where false serenity betrays heartbreaking truths. Take Floating Trees, a track so deceptively gentle you might mistake it for pastoral ambience. The high, airy piano notes drift like disintegrating dandelion seeds, each tone evaporating before it can truly resolve, giving the illusion of peace. But listen closer. Beneath the surface ripples of barely their dissonance. Like water reflections, warped by unseen currents, there's a tragedy coded into those ephemeral melodies, a whispering reminder that everything beautiful in this blocky universe is temporary. That your proudest castles will one day surrender to vines and time. This isn't accompaniment for grand adventures. It's the song that plays when you pause on a mountaintop at sunset, surveying everything you've built, and suddenly realize none of it can be taken with you when the world finally resets. Then there's the original Minecraft title theme itself, the 10-note lullaby brandished into every player's memory. We associate it with beginners' wonder, fist-punching trees, that first wobbly dirt hut, but revisit it years later, after losing saves and outgrowing worlds. Suddenly, Lena Raine's delicate cover transforms those 8-bit chimes into something devastatingly fragile, a music box winding down, each note a ghost of sleepless childhood nights spent tunneling toward bedrock. It becomes a requiem for lost time, forcing you to remember who you were when you first pressed start game all those forgotten worlds ago. But nothing prepares you for Volume Beta's intro, where the original title theme brimmed with naive optimism. This sequel takes the melody down a mineshaft and abandons it. The sustaining synth pads swell like lungs filling with water while the iconic notes stagger through echo chambers, distorted and disoriented. This is C418 scoring the moment you open an old server, archive the revamped tune, mocking your nostalgia as it guides you through cobwebbed ruins of friends' abandoned homes, tree houses sagging with neglect, moss crawling over half-finished nether portals. It's the sound of recognizing that paradise was always ephemeral, that even in this immortal digital space, everything you love eventually becomes archaeology. Shift dimensions now to the update scores that stunned, where Minecraft's evolution birthed existential dread. when Rubedo emerged with the Nether update. We expected hellish choirs and blistering distortion. Instead, Nina Rain gave us cosmic emptiness. Those slow, galactic synth swells don't soundtrack lava lakes, and gassed fireballs they pulse like dying stars. Echoing through basalt monoliths in a dimension stripped of comfort, Rubedo plays when you stand at the edge of a crimson forest, warped fungi glowing sickly purple, and realize this hostile wasteland is achingly beautiful. The track's cold beauty mirrors that unsettling revelation that you don't belong here. That you're an intruder in a magnificent alien mausoleum where even the weeping ghosts have turned to ash. Compare that to the gut-wrenching irony of intentions from the Trails and Tales update. On the surface, it's all joyful flutes and skipping rhythms, the perfect soundtrack for sniffing cherry blossoms or riding camels into sun-drenched deserts. But linger in the melody's afterglow. There's a farewell sublimated into those bright notes, a hidden mourning behind the celebration. It's the smile you force when packing away childhood toys. The forced cheer of closing a world where your dog companion glitched into the void years ago. Intentions understands that Minecraft isn't just about new adventures, it's about grieving every version of yourself left behind in outdated seeds. Waving across time at the person you were when the biome you're savoring didn't exist yet. Most haunting of all, caves and cliffs comforting memories. The title taunts you, a warm piano motif wraps around your shoulders like a woolen cloak, suggesting campfire safety. But listen, chiaroscuro strings bleed through the cracks, shadows pulling beneath your feet as the melody splits into dissonant harmonies. This song plays while mining deep slate at bedrock, your torches flickering. It's the musical equivalent of finding a dusty photograph tucked inside a ruin. Smiling faces of players who haven't logged on in years. It's safety laced with decay. Nostalgia curdling into something sharper, hug that lasts just a moment too long, making you aware of the inevitable goodbye already nesting inside it. Step sideways into spin-off soul crushers, now those parallel universes where familiar melodies twist into knives. Minecraft Dungeons Creeping Winters DLC theme takes the series' usual whimsy and drowns it in frozen lakes. A choir murmurs Slavic folk motifs under jagged ice percussion, the soundtrack to trudging through tundras, where even monsters seem melancholic. This isn't combat music, it's the sound of realizing you're fighting for a kingdom already lost. Frostbite creeping up your sword arm as you defend villages destined to become snow globe graveyards by dawn. Then comes story mode's unforgivable masterstroke, reusing wet hands during a pivotal character death. You know, the track Minecraft's equivalent of a security blanket. All playful xylophone and innocent wonder, but slow to half speed. Drenched in lone cello tremors, it becomes a funeral dirge. Your brain rebels. This melody belongs to first harvests and tamed wolves, not permanent goodbyes. And that's why it breaks you, because it forces the realization that even sanctuary cannot protect you from loss. When those warped, grieving notes play over a companion's tombstone, it feels like the game itself is gasping between sobs. Fistfuls of dirt falling onto a coffin woven from your fondest memories. Even Legends, a game about warping reality, admits defeat against the original soundtrack's emotional gravity. Its reimagining of subwoofer lullaby strips the cozy warmth replacing it with hollow kalimba plucks and wind tunnel drones. Now the track thrums with failure, the musical equivalent of staring at a crumbling statue you spent years carving. Legend's arrangements confess something startling. No matter how grand your battles, how intricate your redstone inventions, every Minecraft world faces eventual decay. These aren't triumphant fanfares for conquerors, they're elegies whispered prematurely over still living worlds, like mourning someone while they sleep beside you. Now enter the modded masterpieces, where fans transmute grief into new beauties. Stardew Valley crossover mods gift us Stardust, a track that interlocks Minecraft's melancholy with Pelican Town's acoustic tenderness. A lonely guitar picks pearly notes over hushed nether ambience, crafting a ballad for farmers who till soil between dimensions. It feels like planting wheat at the overworld's edge at dusk, watching to setting suns, one blocky and orange. The other Stardew's pixel perfect crimson melt together as you question which world you truly belong to. The homesickness in those strings doesn't discriminate between realities, it nests in your ribs, reminding you that you left fragments of your soul scattered across 100 save files. Buttrow crafts bliss, a mod pack infamous for brutal difficulty hides the cruelest surprise. Combat music screams, dragons roar, but occasionally randomly the chaos hushes. A solitary piano begins bliss, fragile as a candle in a blizzard. For 3 minutes, death stops chasing you. Diamond hard chords dissolve into softened majors, a beacon's light piercing through blackstone skies. This isn't respite, it's surrender. The track plays when exhaustion overpowers fear, when you lie in a dirt hole awaiting death, and suddenly appreciate the periwinkle hue of gathering twilight through a crack in your makeshift tomb. It's the song that tricks you into lowering your shield, into letting the monsters win because this broken, fleeting beauty justifies every respawn. These fan composers expand C418's emotional language, writing love letters in dialects he only hinted at. They understand that true Minecraft melancholy isn't about bombastic tragedy, it's in the quiet cracks between block placements. A string quartet cover of Danny repurposed for modded cities turns companionship into elegy. Now the song scores empty marketplaces where villagers hum mechanically, unaware their player architect abandoned them updates ago. Ambient packs like Ginkgo's lightning bugs use fractured chiptune to mimic memory corruption, glitching melodies that feel like trying to recall a friend's laughter on a deleted server. The notes dissolving like glowing sacks in rainwater. So why do we seek out these hidden heartbreaks? Why plunge willingly into sonic sorrow? Because these tracks are paradoxically comforting. They articulate the indescribable ache every long-term player carries, a phantom limb pain for worlds that no longer exist, friends who drifted away, childhoods buried under stratas of new updates. When floating trees shivers through your speakers, it's not just music, it's validation, proof that you weren't alone in crying over pixelated sunsets, that your irrational attachment to a blocking universe was always mirrored in the compositions, humming beneath its surface. Next time you load your world, mute the usual playlist. Wander your longest surviving save. Let the forgotten tracks rise. Sit atop your first cobblestone tower as Rubedo's starlight synths seep through nether portals. Below, wade into the ocean where wet hands stung saltwater. Tight only now let its unaltered cheerfulness break you anew with its oblivious innocence. Minecraft's greatest magic trick isn't procedural generation. It's how these melodies meticulously coded yet achingly human transform binary into emotion, crafting elegies for memories we haven't lost yet, ensuring that every block placed, every torch lit, every piglin bartered with is imbued with the crushing, gorgeous weight of impermanence. The message hidden in every note, build anyway, love despite. Let the world's end. Your ghost will hum the aftermath into something beautiful. Close your eyes for just a moment and picture this: the glow of a cathode ray monitor cutting through a dim bedroom in 2009. The faint hum of a computer fan struggling against the weight of creative ambition. And the sound, the sound, a single piano note echoing through pixelated darkness like a lone raindrop falling into an endless cave. This was Minecraft's musical dawn, a time when composer Daniel Rosenfeld, known to millions as C418, pressed record on a worn-out microphone in his home studio, unaware he was etching the first whispers of a digital generation's collective memory. What began as simple ambient sketches for an indie game made by a Swedish programmer would grow into something astonishing: a sonic universe that matured alongside its players, evolving from primitive melancholy to orchestral grandeur, mirroring the laughter, loneliness, and quiet revelations etched into a decade of late-night gaming sessions. Join me on an auditory odyssey as we unravel how Minecraft's soundtrack transformed from raw, accidental beauty into a tapestry of emotional catharsis, a journey where technological limitations birth haunting authenticity, where community debates over synthesizers felt like cultural earthquakes, and where the haunting cry of a virtual cicada could make millions of strangers feel nostalgic for a world that never truly existed. Back in those pixelated days of 2009, when dirt blocks looked crisper than the textures of reality itself, Minecraft's audio landscape was crafted through necessity rather than ambition. C418 worked magic within constraints: Newman microphones gathering dust while repurposed gaming headsets captured every fragile note, his modest studio setup transforming technical poverty into emotional richness. Listen to Moog City from volume alpha again, hear the way the piano hovers slightly sharp, how the ambient synths waver like candlelight threatening to gutter out, how every mechanical imperfection bled into the performance. Those early tracks weren't polished, they were alive, raw, human. Players building their first dirt huts beneath infinite blocky skies found themselves pausing mid-construction as subwoofer lullaby dripped into their headphones unprepared for how a simple melody echoing through 5-note patterns could conjure such profound solitude. Gamers flooded forums with bewildered stories, grown men crying over virtual sunrises, children describing feelings they couldn't yet name, all haunted by a question: how could music this minimalistic carry such immense emotional weight? The answer lay in accidental alchemy. C418's limited tools forcing him to rely on primal emotional triggers rather than orchestral complexity. That fragile piano in Clark wasn't just a sampled instrument, it was the sound of someone truly alone in a vast creative wilderness, whispering secrets into the void. But as the game itself bloomed from indie experiment into global phenomenon, so too did its sonic ambitions deepen, enter the era of volume beta. where C for E-teen swapped vulnerability for brooding sophistication. Picture 2012. Minecraft's worlds grow darker. Creepers come out to play beneath blood-red moons, and the music follows suit no longer content to simply comfort, now daring to unsettle. The opening seconds of beta asterisks intro announce the seismic shift with cinematic boldness, glass harmonica tones spiraling downward like falling stars, percussion thrumming like a frightened heartbeat, strings swelling with unresolved tension. Here was music that dug its hands into existential soil. Dryden, with its looping, Escher-like melody, questioned reality itself, while Taswell built glacial crescendos that felt like watching continents form. Players noticed how they noticed dividing into camps you might call the traditionalists and the modernists. Scroll through nostalgia forums today, and you'll still find flame wars from 2013. The new tracks lack alphas. Purity, cried some, pointing to the expanded synthesizers and layered percussion as betraying Minecraft's lo-fi soul. Others champion the emotional bravery of tracks like The End, whose funereal organ chords force players to confront mortality in a universe previously defined by endless rebirth. Through endless online skirmishes, a truth emerged. Minecraft's music had become a cultural mirror, refracting its community's own turbulent adolescence. And adolescence inevitably gives way to reinvention, the Renaissance era 2020, where Minecraft's sound waves underwent kaleidoscopic transformation, guided by new voices and unexpected collaborations that honored the game's roots while planting seeds for forests yet unseen. The moment Lena Raine's fingers first brushed the keys for Airy remains etched in gaming history, a Cambrian explosion of emotional nuance. Suddenly, Minecraft's compositions weren't just atmospheric, they told stories. Listen closely to Nether Updates Rubedo. It's a 3-act tragedy in instrumental form, beginning with tentative exploration through jagged basalt deltas, building through heroic brass fanfares as players battle striders amidst lava seas, then collapsing into mournful harpsichord farewells when the fire resistance potion finally wears. Then, Rain, a composer who grew up with Minecraft's early albums, achieved something miraculous, crafting tracks that simultaneously felt like home, comforting memories, recycling Alpha's minimalist techniques yet ventured into breathtaking new territories. Chrysopia blending synthesized choirs with Balinese gamelan echoes. This era saw Minecraft's soundtrack burst beyond gaming TikTok teens, stitching the swells of Sweden C418 remix to childhood photo montages. Ambient music blogs dissecting Infinite Amethyst as if it were a Philip Glass composition, and millions discovering that what they dismissed as kids' game music now scored first dates, breakups, and midnight drives through rain-slicked cities. Now we arrive at Minecraft's current chapter, the modern catharsis 2021 present, where emotional complexity blossoms into full spectrum humanity, incorporating global musical traditions to articulate feelings words can't contain. Wild Update didn't just add mangrove swamps, it offered players an ecstatic communion with indigenous musical wisdom. Humi Tanioka's ancestry transports us directly into Amazonian rainforests, through berimbau twangs and Kulintang percussion patterns not typically heard in Swedish game studios, an audible acknowledgement that Minecraft's emotional language needed roots deeper than any single culture. Trails and Tales amplified this philosophy into stunning contradictions. Cherry Grove dances between celebration and catastrophe, wedding bells chiming alongside cellos that weep for unknown losses, capturing that bittersweet ache when happiness and grief become indistinguishable. Even nostalgia itself becomes reinvented. Darren Sheriff's updates to classic themes avoid cheap sentimentality. One More Day takes C for 18's DNA and grafts orchestral strings atop his signature synths, transforming familiar melancholy into something expansive, hopeful. Players now experience astonishing emotional whiplash mining quietly as left channels cigaros-like ethereality, only to have bromelaid as Mesoamerican flutes invoke ancient rituals beneath the same blocky sky that once hosted simple piano laments. And so here we stand 12 years removed from that first hiss of a home-recorded piano chord with Minecraft Sonic Universe reflecting our own emotional coming of age. The journey from alpha's raw vulnerability to today's intricate catharsis mirrors a generation's arc from adolescent wonder to adult complexity, proving that great game music doesn't merely accompany play, it becomes the invisible architecture of memory itself. What began as budgetary necessity four-note melodies crackling through cheap headphones blossomed into a global emotional lexicon where a Lithuanian child, an Argentinian elder, might hear the same arpeggio from Mice on Venus and remember entirely different, yet equally true, versions of their lives. As Minecraft continues evolving, new updates arriving like seasons, the music's power lies in its refusal to stagnate, daring to incorporate indigenous grief, algorithmic experimentation, even joyous disco flourishes into its expanding tapestry. So tonight, perhaps load up your oldest survival world, stand atop that first cobblestone tower you built in 2013, and press play on volume beta. Listen as 7 layers of memory overlap the naive excitement in alpha's sparse plinking, the adolescent angst in beta's distorted synths, the grown up wonder in Rain's choral arrangements, a sonic fossil record proving that sometimes, against all odds, art grows not just with its audience, but into them, and somewhere in the distance, if you're quiet enough, you'll still hear it, that original piano, echoing through Minecraft's eternal caves, no longer alone, but part of a vast, glittering constellation of feelings. Our cracked hearts, it turns out, were never broken, just expanding. The first time the piano keys find you, really find you, it's when your diamond pickaxe slips into lava with that awful hiss, or when a creeper detonates your meticulously built cabin, just as night falls, and suddenly there you are sprinting through the rain without shelter or weapons, and that's when you hear it, isn't it? A simple pattern, 3 descending notes suspended in the air like dust motes in a sunbeam on everything around you, says darkness. Key asterisk, they call this track in the game files, but it feels more like an invitation, doesn't it? A magnetic pull toward beauty in the exact moment your hands tremble over keyboard or controller, while panic still coursing through you, jungle leaves, rustling monsters groaning somewhere behind a thicket. And yet here's this melody, fragile, unshakable, carving out a pocket of safety inside danger. And that's the first whisper of healing, right? Shock as a symphony, yes, how strange that pain and wonder share the same breath, how running through tortuous forests, while Astor's concrete halls Asterisk drones, those subterranean cello groans wrapping around you like cold mist, can somehow be comforting precisely because they mirror your pulse, because they say asterisk, I know this horror fluttering in your chest asterisk, and isn't that the heart of shock music giving form to disbelief, letting it breathe, turning chaos into a cradle? But morning comes, inventory replenished, and you're not ready yet. No, you'll mine straight down into stone without a torch. Ignore the shadow movements at the edge of the screen. Build glass towers that serve no purpose, just to keep busy, to stay blind, and avoidance has its own score, doesn't it? Asterisk blind spots asterisk, with its cheerful xylophone tinkling like ice cubes in a summer drink, all upbeat tempo, and major chords plastered over survival stress, a forced smile in audio form. Press the sprint button, keep moving, don't think, make arbitrary goals, farm carrots for 3 hours. Rearrange chess. Because if you stop, if you listen past the plastic happiness to the melancholic bassline humming beneath, we'll have to admit the walls are too thin, the night too long. And denial is a cage built from major keys. Frustration bubbles over anyway, doesn't it? Wolves barking at phantom enemies. Your precious tame companions glitching through fences, dissolving into red particles. Because of course they do, and now asterisk cat asterisk plays its frenetic clockwork tune, mirroring your clenched jaw, the rhythm. Like ragged breathing, like a tea kettle screaming, feel it in your temples, that frantic pizzicato. Strings chasing each other in circles, perfect vessel for the rage you're spinning in your chair, now fingers drumming, but wait, deeper, underground in crimson forests, where asterisk dog asterisk unspools its warped carnival waltz. You find yourself matching your sword swings to the off-kilter beat. Yes, gas wail their fireballs, but your shield meets them in time with the bass drops. Battle becomes dance, netherrack crunching underfoot in syncopated rhythm, and look at that, you're channeling fury into footwork, rage transformed into momentum, stepping stones from destruction to creation. Hope peeks through charred landscapes when you least expect it. Rebuilding after grief isn't logical, it's digging one dirt block at a time. Lacing torches in new patterns, humming what's that tune asterisk key asterisk less, it's looping woodwind. Innocence, a minimalist lullaby for starting over. Villagers murmur nearby, iron golems patrol clumsily while these staccato flute notes drop like seeds into tilled soil, each asterisk fling. Asterisk a tiny promise, bargaining through melody, pitching tents on ruins, saying asterisk, what if this time I build better? What if this time I plant flowers along the path asterisk? And then the village update themes arrive, don't they? Clarinets skipping over pizzicato strings, an entire symphony of fresh beginnings. Morning light slanting across half-built farms, the audio equivalent of rolled blueprints spread over a scarred table. This is how we negotiate with loss, rebuild note by note. Some voids can't be filled, though late nights when chests overflow with emeralds, but the caverns of your ribcage echo, it's asterisk, dead voxel asterisk, that finds you not. A melody so much as absence carved into sound, that solitary piano note reverberating in an empty church, expanded across 10 minutes. You stare at your screen doing nothing, just existing in that hollow resonance, but then asterisk 13 asterisk glitches in with its warped vinyl. Crackle fragments of violin crying over corrupted data beds, and isn't that the truest companion? Your pixelated tears reflected in skipping disk static, embracing imperfection, validating despair without sugarcoating depression as shared static, an imperfect duet between player and machine. Recovery sneaks in as routine sunrise mining trips with purpose now cobblestone pathways tessellate to the measured cadence of asterisk, Passwell asterisk, its determined bassline steady as a heartbeat 5. No piano motif circling like a mantra incremental progress as anthem village walls rise crop fields expand to the rhythm of achievement unlocked. And why does this minor key perseverance hit harder than any victory fanfare? Because it understands comeback arcs aren't fireworks, they're placing block after block after block, the music measuring your resolve, scaffolding your return. Seasons turn, saplings become forests. You find yourself sitting atop a mountain at dawn watching fog unravel across biomes below. Here comes asterisk mice on Venus asterisk, that eternal music box. Melody winding through memories like ivy through ruins, grief softened into patina, acceptance as cyclical as day, night cycles, and when asterisk aria math asterisk blooms, its complex harp arpeggios. Over warm synth swells, you realize sorrow and gratitude have always been intertwined notes in the same composition. First sunbeam after rain transforming pulled tears into light, the soundtrack never promised to take the pain away, only to sit with you in the downpour until you remembered how to breathe. Until you noticed the raindrops clinging to oak leaves, catching the morning sun like 1,000 crystalline worlds, each one singing. Imagine a dusk sky painted in pixelated hues over Shanghai, where a young programmer closes their eyes as the familiar plucked strings of Danny bloom through headphones. But this isn't just another meme shared among laughing friends. What began as a playful internet joke has quietly transformed into something sacred. A digital mantra repurposed by millions across China who discovered that C418's whimsical melody could anchor breath in exercises, guiding minds deeper than any ancient chime. Across the East China Sea in Tokyo's neon labyrinth, that same soundtrack takes an entirely different shape. Murmuring subway commuters sway to lo-fi beats spawned by underground producers who sliced mine crafts tracks into hypnotic loops, birthing a subculture where wet hands isn't just background noise, but the rhythmic pulse of midnight study sessions and candlelit cafes. And if you wander south to Seoul's buzzing Gangnam district, step inside any tucked-away internet cafe to witness headphones wearing listeners melting into their chairs, not to bass drops or K-pop anthems, but to the cavernous drips and echoing footfalls of Minecraft's underground ambience. A sonic blanket wrapped around frayed nerves during Korea's relentless ASMR boom. What threads these scattered moments together? The realization that a game's music crafted by solitary composers in far-off studios has become an unexpected Rosetta Stone for human emotion, translated into dialects of comfort no one could have anticipated. Now let the currents carry you northwest to Copenhagen, where winter's endless twilight finds families gathered around crackling hearths. Swedish blankets piled high as speakers exhale subwoofer lullaby. Nordic players swear this track doesn't merely evoke Hig, that untranslatable Danish concept of cozy contentment. It is Hig distilled into sonic form. Each synth chord weaving warmth into bone-chilled evenings, but shift focus abruptly to Manchester's warehouse raves, where strobing lights suddenly freeze as a DJ drops Lena Raine's pickstep, a brass-heavy funk explosion hijacked by UK club culture, transforming nether-themed strangeness into an instant floor filler, where glowstick-waving crowds roar approval, proving Minecraft's score can thrive far beyond quiet contemplation. Meanwhile, in Paris, university lecture halls host impassioned debates dissecting biome leitmotifs as if they were classical symphonies. One silver-haired professor gestures wildly while analyzing Hagstrom, comparing its snowflake delicate arpeggios to Debussy's impressionist soundscapes, arguing that these digital compositions deserve shelves beside centuries-old masterpieces in the Louvre of auditory art. Cross the Atlantic now. Drawn by the gravitational pull of shared nostalgia to Rio's sun-baked favelas where teenagers play soccer beneath graffiti murals humming with the opening notes of Sweden. For an entire generation across Latin America, this melody isn't just wistful, it's the sound of childhood innocence preserved, conjuring memories of stolen computer time in internet cafes where Minecraft offered escape from turbulent streets. A lullaby that now follows them into adulthood, hummed absently by construction workers dangling from scaffolding or grandmothers hanging laundry, unaware the tune originated oceans away, northward in Chicago. Therapists note a curious trend. Gen Z patients request C418 tracks during counseling sessions, using Clark or Mice on Venus as emotional scaffolding while unpacking trauma. Their therapists marveling at how these simplistic loops unlock vulnerability faster than years of traditional technique. And on windswept Montana reservations, Indigenous youth creators beam during Minecraft's trails and tales updates, seeing their ancestral stories mirrored in new musical motifs blending traditional drum patterns with chiptune melodies. A cultural recognition that resonates deeper than any policy document. But the true testament to this phenomenon flickers in the darkest corners of our world. In a makeshift Ukrainian bomb shelter, a father cradles his trembling daughter, both wearing cracked headphones, piping Minecraft Volume Alpha, its unshakable lifeline against screaming artillery outside. Transforming cellar walls into imagined meadows where creepers don't exist. Only sunlight. This isn't isolated magic. UNESCO now debates adding Minecraft's music to their intangible cultural heritage list, acknowledging how millions weaponize its simplicity against modern alienation. And when earthquakes reduce Turkish cities to rubble, survivors gathered around projector screens displaying blocky landscapes. Voices rising together during impromptu Minecraft concerts led by artists streaming globally, each note rebuilding community where concrete failed. Proving these synthetic sounds hold organic power to suture fractured souls. From K-pop stars, sampling cave noises for chart. Topping hits to Alaskan fishermen playing floating trees during midnight trawls. This global symphony swells louder, daily proof that emotion, when stripped to its purest form, needs no translation. The screen may fade to black, controllers may gather dust, but humanity has grafted these melodies into our collective heartbeat, an eternal reminder that sorrow and joy speak the same 8-bit language wherever there are ears to listen.